Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Here we are. We're a little behind schedule today. As you guys probably noticed, we're doing a 7:30 start and we had some very pesky technical glitches. I had two different glitches today. I had my internet kept dropping out and dropping signal, and then the camera that I've used for a year and a half that has been plugged in, that hasn't changed, hasn't moved, all of a sudden decided it didn't want to work today. So we're a little behind schedule, but I appreciate y'all being here. And we already have a lot of people in the chat, which is cool. Hey, my buddy, the Milkman is here. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining the stream. Thanks for hanging out. David's in the house. What's going on, David? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out. As always, my name is Joe. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the channel. We're going to be talking about all things real estate today. So every week we're hanging out. We're talking about real estate, and we are going to be going over some of the latest stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about how there's a miracle in the housing market, a true miracle, divine intervention, and we're going to talk about how churches are going to solve the housing crisis, and we're going to get more into that. Plus, we've got some more about some more stuff about the Trump v. Powell feud, which I don't know about you all, but I love what's going on. I don't love the feud so much, but it's very interesting to me to follow up with. So one of my buddies, the Milkman here in chat, sent me a really, really cool article talking about, it's just a Fed paper, but then we're also going to talk about, I don't know if you guys saw the video going around of Powell and Trump interviewing at the Fed remodel, the Fed building remodel, and Trump's like pulls out this paper. Anyway, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. If we have time at the end, even though we're starting late, but if we have time at the end, we're also going to do some Zillow cruising as well. So as always, if you guys have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, whether it's about the article or anything generally related to real estate, maybe you're thinking about buying, maybe you're thinking about selling, and you've got some questions, the chat is a great spot. Put your questions into the chat. Put your thoughts into the chat, and always love hearing from you guys. Hey, Angie, how's it going? Hope you're doing well today. Good to see you in the stream. So let's get it started. Let's start with the news coming out of the Fed. Let me get this shared up. Bingo. Let's start with this. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. All right, so here we go. So as you guys know, the Fed met recently, and Trump has been putting a lot of pressure on not just the Fed, but Jerome Powell as well, to lower interest rates. Trump wants lower interest rates. He wants the economy to get a nice boost from lower interest rates. We've talked about this before. When interest rates are lower, typically it spurs economic development because money is cheaper to borrow. That obviously one of the byproducts of lower interest rates, besides more capital for businesses, is a cost savings for home loans, for mortgages, right? So Trump would love to see the interest rate lower so that people can refinance homes, makes buying homes a little bit easier, and makes it more affordable. Obviously, Trump wants homes to be affordable so that more people can buy them. It's the American dream. It's also a major part of the American economy. So it obviously is good for Trump if the housing market could stay stable or become more affordable. It also ends up being a pretty big feather in the cap for the GOP and Republican Party, saying, hey, look, during our first 1 year in office, our first 2 years in office, we were able to make homes X amount more affordable or lower interest rates X amount. They're always looking, and this isn't just Republicans, Democrats do the same thing, any politician, always looking for the feather in the cap, right? So that's part of the reason that we're seeing a big push from the Trump administration on Jerome Powell to lower these rates. So let's take a look at this. This is just like only about a 3-page article. So we'll go through this one pretty quick. Fed maintains key interest rate as real estate industry sets sights on possible September rate cut. Now, a lot of the people in the industry, in the real estate industry, we were not expecting a rate cut come in July, in this July meeting, and there wasn't one. However, a lot of people in the real estate community are kind of assuming that we're going to see at least a slight rate cut in September when they meet again. So we're probably thinking a 1/4 to 1/2% somewhere in there is probably where the rate cut will be. Now, keep in mind, this is in the federal funds rate, not necessarily the mortgage rate. The federal funds rate and the mortgage rate do typically move in lockstep. They're usually tied together, but not always. So something to consider when you guys are hearing, oh, the Fed's going to cut rates, the Fed's going to cut rates. It probably will affect mortgage rates, but it's not guaranteed. There's our boy, Jerome Powell, chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, speaking during a news conference. The U.S. Federal Reserve is holding steady on its benchmark lending rate, leaving real estate industry and President Donald Trump waiting for the cut they desire. As widely expected, the Fed said Wednesday it kept the interest rate at the current target range of 4.25% to 4.5% because uncertainty about the economic outlook remains elevated. Commercial real estate and financial professionals noted that while the central bank held its ground in maintaining the federal funds rate, chances look good for an interest rate cut come in the fall. And that's the word on the street. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said at a press conference following Wednesday's announcement that the Fed has made no decisions about September. We don't do that in advance, which is typical verbiage from the Fed. The Fed usually plays their cards pretty close. Now, the word on the street, the industry consensus is that there will be a cut in the federal funds rate in September, but don't get overly excited about that because these rate cuts, these Fed rate cuts, when we kind of know that they're coming, when they don't come as a surprise, and most of the time, rate cuts do not come as a surprise because it's a very slow moving ship. So usually we know ahead of time. But don't get too excited because when the rate cut hits, it's not going to make an immediate impact on mortgage interest rates. Any changes to mortgage interest rates or Fed funds rates that affect mortgage interest rates are usually known about ahead of time. They're not a surprise. And because we know about them, the market already accounts for it. We call it baking in the cut. So for example, let's just say September 15th, the Fed gets out of their meeting. They usually meet towards the end. Let's just say September 15th, Fed gets out of the meeting. They say, we are going to cut the federal funds rate by 1/4 to 0.5%. And then you go, oh, great. I'm going to go over to, Mortgage News Daily, and I'm going to see those rates immediately go down by 1/4 to 0.5%. That's not going to happen. Those modifications will already have taken place, but rates will come down. But it's not like an overnight thing. It's not like flipping a switch. They're going to go down probably gradually over time, over the course of 4 to 6 weeks before the Fed even announces an official rate cut. Commercial real estate. Oh, we already read that one. Okay. Real estate industry professionals, however, are hopeful the Fed cuts rates during its Federal Open Market Committee meeting in mid-September. Like many, I anticipate that we'll see a rate cut this September when the Fed should have a better view of the trajectory of the U.S. economy. James Godman, a partner at law firm HSF Kramer, who handles real estate deals, told CoStar News in an email. A key driver of this decision could be the continued elevation of home mortgage interest rates, which has stymied the housing market. Although the real estate industry would undoubtedly like to see rate cuts in the near future, we're nevertheless seeing a large volume of transactions. The economic uncertainty created by the Trump administration's shifting tariff targets for U.S. trading partners are proving to be a wild card, according to economists. The Federal Reserve is still waiting for the full impact of tariffs to be seen in the economic data, but so far that hasn't really emerged, said Christine Cooper, CoStar Group's chief U.S. economist, in an email. However, that doesn't mean there hasn't been an impact. And that's a really important thing. We've seen this a lot. We've seen people talk about, hey, tariffs are going to cause inflationary results on the economy. And we have not seen that yet. In fact, inflation has been doing well. And the only reason inflation has still kind of inched in this kind of mid 2 to low 2s number, again, the Fed wants to see it 2.0 or less. And we're flirting between like 2.3 and 2.5. And one of the main reasons that we're in that 0.3 to 0.5 overage has a lot to do with the cost of housing and shelter being so high and affordability being low. So some analysts are hypothesizing that, hey, the reason that inflation is sticking around, staying so high, is partially because interest rates are still high, keeping housing affordability not in a good spot. Now, some people are saying, well, yeah, but if we lower interest rates to create better affordability, that could create more demand on housing. Supply on housing has increased, but not notably in all markets. In some markets, it has, Texas, Florida, things like that, but not in all markets. And then we could see prices go up and affordability not change. So I think that the Fed is taking the correct approach. I think that if tariffs are going to create any inflationary effects, I would anticipate it probably being in the next 6 months. And the reason for that is because a lot of businesses were able to stock up, right? They were able to get a lot of products and materials here before tariffs go fully into effect, able to stock up and avoid some of those inflationary pressures. And also, we're still waiting for some trade deals to get made. The deadlines keep getting pushed back a little bit further. We keep, a few deals keep trickling in. I know I just made one with the European Union that seemed favorable to the U.S. I believe I just saw on my phone right before I went live on the stream. I think there was news of another deal being made. And if anybody in chat has details on that, we can talk about that. But I think the Fed's taking the right approach. I'm not surprised that the tariffs haven't caused inflation just yet. I don't think we're out of the woods with tariffs possibly causing inflation. I think we need to wait another 3 to 6 months. I think the Fed is doing the right thing by just continuing to wait and see, of course, against the desires of Trump and a lot of sort of bullish economic pundits out there. They want low rates. The Federal Reserve is still waiting for the full impact of tariffs to be seen. We talked about that. In fact, she said it appears some companies already are acting to blunt the effect of the trade duties. We have been listening to U.S. manufacturers as they report their second quarter results. And what we have heard is that many are absorbing their increased costs rather than passing these on to the consumers. So they're keeping their prices stable, Cooper said, but that also means their profits are being compressed. Others have slowed production, so fewer imported parts are needed. Neither of these strategies are likely sustainable. So it's almost like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, a frustrating time for market watchers, which kind of was what I was saying. So between some businesses just absorbing some of the price differences because they don't want to lose customers, and other business still modifying production or shipping to kind of alleviate big tariff increases, we're not seeing inflationary pressures. But as Christine Cooper has pointed out, this is not permanent. You can only do this for so long. Powell said at the press conference, the ongoing wait and see approach remains appropriate, mentioning the Fed is doing what it can for the housing sector. The best thing we can do for housing is to have 2% inflation and a maximum employment, he said. Separately, Powell said changes to government policies continue to evolve, and their effects on the economy remain uncertain. In Canada, a country in trade talks with the United States, its central bank also held steady Wednesday on its benchmark lending rate. So Canada taking the same approach. Let's see, Angie. Yes, but their profits were also super inflated before. The profit margins were huge. Yes, absolutely, especially during COVID, right? Supply chain, pandemic. How many times did we hear of things? Oh, lumber, price of lumber is crazy. Oh, it turns out that was kind of an inflated thing, and lumber really wasn't a shortfall. They just saw an opportunity. How many times have stories come out where it was like, oh, actually, there's really like not a shortage of this. Manufacturers were just holding supply. So you're right, Angie. Yes, their profits will go down, but the profit margins for some of these companies were so insanely ridiculous before that it's almost akin. Yeah, you're right. They've gone away with it for years. You're right. It's almost akin to these crash bros. They're like, oh, see, the price of housing has come down 7%. In the last 3 months. Look, there's a housing crash. And you're like, well, yeah, it's come down 7%, but it's gone up 30 in the last 4 years. So is it really a problem? No, probably not. So yeah, good point, Angie. Good point. Hey, MH, good to see you. Good to see you, buddy. Yes, we had a late start tonight. We started at 7:30. We're going 7:30 to 8:30 tonight. We had some technical glitches. We had some internet that was spotty, and then we had a camera that same camera I've been using all of a sudden just didn't want to show the video, and we got it fixed. So yeah, It's a late night stream for Joe tonight. So thanks for joining, MH. Always good to see you. All right. Bank of Canada decision to hold overnight rate steady keeps real estate industry waiting. In the U.S., not all members of the Federal Open Market Committee agree that the rate should have remained the same, as 2 members voted against the decision. It's the first time that more than one governor of the group voted against the chair since 1993, according to the Wall Street Journal, which is interesting. So you got 2 members that said no. We want to lower rates. Now, do they think that because they honestly feel that's the best thing to do? Or did they vote that way because they're maybe getting some pressure? I don't know. Don't know. Have no idea, but just interesting food for thought. The forecast this summer that the Fed forecast this summer that it would make at least 2/4 percentage rate cuts before the year is out, CoStar News reported. It would be the first time it's made a cut since December. Fed maintains key interest rates, still forecasts 2 cuts this year. Mike Kraft, commercial real estate treasurer for commercial banking at JP Morgan, said in a commentary that if inflation remains tame and the labor market softens, then the Fed could indeed foresee the need to lower rates twice this year. I think inflation is going to remain tame. We'll have to see with tariffs, but we're off to a good start. And the labor market softens. This we'll see about. The labor market in the United States has been very, very healthy since about 2012, other than for the first 2 months of COVID, when they were like, nobody work, nobody do anything, just stare at the walls, don't go anywhere, don't think about anyone, just lock yourself in a room. The labor market has been extremely strong. I don't expect to see the labor market soften. I think we would already have seen that if it was going to. So we'll see. Again, remember, the Fed cares about labor market and inflation. Labor market, inflation. The Fed is only going to cut rates if the labor market starts to soften a little bit and inflation gets low and stays low. That could not come soon enough for Trump, who has repeatedly called for interest rates to be cut. In fact, he did just that last week when he visited the construction site for a Federal Reserve headquarters project that centers on an overhaul of 2 buildings in Washington, D.C. The president and his allies say the project is too costly, while the Fed said the multi-billion-dollar project will reduce costs over time by allowing it to consolidate most of its operations. And let's not act like this is the first government project that has gone over budget. That would be ridiculous, because I think every single one has gone over budget. Powell declined at Wednesday's press conference to say whether he saw Trump's interest in the Fed's office renovation project as directly tied to the president's push to lower interest rates. And this is one thing where, it's not just one thing. This is one spot where I will give Jerome Powell a lot of credit. He's done really good about not taking the rage bait, right? So to use the Gen Z term, this rage bait, very clearly Trump is trying to rage bait Powell into some type of confrontation in the public eye. Trump always kind of seems to keep one-upping the pressure, making these, oh, look, I wrote a note and I'm holding it up in front of the cameras. Look at the interest rates and look where we are. And Powell's too late, keeps calling him this nickname, which is kind of disrespectful. And Powell is just like, I'm not engaging. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to focus on my job. And that's exactly what needs to happen, which is really good. MH, you have a success story. We have a government project in Colorado ahead of time and under budget. It is a wildlife highway crossing. Now, I wonder, MH, is that a state government project or a federal government project? I would imagine, though, if it's going over a highway, it could be federal. If it's like an interstate, I wonder. I'd be interested to know if it's state or federal. But either way, a government project on time, under budget, that's like craziness. That's crazy. There is no assurance of rate cuts resuming in September, but with 2 rounds of employment and inflation data on tap between now and then, the Fed will have plenty of data on which to decide. Greg McBride, an analyst with the financial information group Bankrate, said in an email to CoStar News. The Fed said in a regularly released report this month that non-residential real estate activity is mostly steady. That's good. highlighting cities including Chicago and Boston. Remember how we thought the commercial real estate was going to be, there was going to be a collapse in commercial real estate. And that's where like some of these doomsday channels, like they pivoted towards that. They were like, oh, see, okay, it's not going to be a residential crash, but there is going to be a crash and it's going to be in commercial real estate. See, we were kind of right. Well, that didn't materialize either, right? It's mostly steady, with cities like Chicago and Boston. Powell also told lawmakers on Capitol Hill in June that commercial real estate is one of the several industries that the Fed watches, noting it's not getting worse, it's getting a little better. Okay, interesting about that. Interesting. However, several experts contend that the unpredictability of the outcome of the U.S. trade talks continues to fuel unpredictability in the wider economy and could affect commercial real estate. When we've talked about this, guys, we know that uncertainty in the markets is a problem. Consumers, people in general, not just in an economic setting, people don't like uncertainty. They don't like when they don't know what's going to happen, right? People are very skittish. And when you take uncertainty in the global economy or national economy, people freak out and they're like, we're not doing anything. So it's definitely true that the tariffs have caused some uncertainty. Some of these things have caused uncertainty. We're still feeling that. We're getting better. We're getting better, but there's still uncertainty about what's going to happen. On Friday, the new tariff rates are expected to take effect, a move Trump doubled down on in a post on social media on Wednesday. Earlier this week, the White House announced a trade deal with the European Union. Tariffs have a negative impact on input costs and uncertainty around what those input costs will be. Okay, let's try this again. Tariffs have a negative impact on input costs, and uncertainty around what those input costs will be means equity capital becomes more scarce and expensive, said Kurt Stewart, co-head of commercial term lending at Chase, in a mid-year commercial real estate outlook. Ultimately, that means fewer properties get built. And then you've got some sources down here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in September. They certainly don't seem like they're going to commit one way or another. You know, I'm on the fence about interest rate cuts. I obviously my industry would benefit from it. It would probably benefit me, in my work life. But I definitely don't want to see the U.S. enter any type of recession. Definitely don't want to see any type of double dip recession where, like we had in the 80s where inflation went all the way up to 12%. We beat it. We thought we had a beat. We cut rates and then boom, it popped way back up to like 17%. We bounced up to like 9.5% in mid 2023, was that, or 2022? And we just want to make sure that we don't, shoot back up and see that again, which I don't think will happen. So again, guys, it'll just be really interesting to see what stance the Fed takes. It will be interesting to see what continues on with Donald Trump and Jerome Powell. And in fact, I'm going to try to pull this up. Powell, Trump meeting. Let's see if we can. Yeah. We want to find this video. I'm sure that you guys have seen this video. I'm sure that you've seen it, but I feel like we got to put it up and watch it. Let me see if I can. Is this going to be it? You'd think that it would be easy to just like find a video online. It's not anymore these days. It's like, you got to knock this pop up and that pop up. Well, I'll try to find it for us. So it'll just be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if you guys saw the video of Trump and Powell meeting at the, let's see, let's see if we can find this. I really, really want to find this video. If anybody finds a link to the video of the interview where Trump pulls out the paper, let's see. Oh, I found it on PBS. I got it. Sweet. All right. We're going to watch. Let me get this is gold. This is hilarious to me. All right, we're going to share this tab and now you guys should see it. All right. And you guys should have volume. Let me know if you guys can't hear it. I mean, doesn't this just like let's just get this. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta do this. Okay, so this guy's face, he looks worried. He looks like this dude looks worried. Like he knows there's some stuff about to go down. Powell looks worried. You got this guy back here. He's like, I just work here. Like, please. It's like, I feel like this is like mom and dad, right? And this is like kid 1 and kid 2, and they're about to sit down at dinner, and there's tension at the dinner table, and the kids are just like, please, like, just everybody be cool. And like mom and dad are trying to be cool, but they're about to get into it. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes.
Thank you very much. We're looking at the construction, and we're with the chairman, as you know. Chairman, come on over. And we're just taking a look at what's happening, and it's a tough construction job there.
And right now, Jerome is just like, okay, what's going to happen? Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Hope he doesn't say anything dumb. And I also like how, and I don't know if this is an intentional thing, but notice the color tie that Powell is wearing. It's purple. Okay. Trump always wears a red tie, right? Okay, so red, Republican, blue, Democrat, blue and red, make purple. So I wonder if this was I just like total, like the total approach, like just like we're totally neutral. We're taking the Switzerland approach, which is totally neutral. Kind of interesting.
Building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed. One of the reasons I wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses, wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit.
His face, Jerome, is like, that was perfect. Like immediately, what? And he immediately is like, nah, dude, no, not gonna happen.
Or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1. And
his face is just like crazy. And you're like, if you're Powell, right? You know, we all know, right? Trump embellishes. Like that's what he does. And Powell I clearly from his reaction didn't know this was coming. And I think Trump was trying to kind of like get him in a gotcha moment, right? And it's funny because Powell stays really calm, cool, and collected. And I think he does a really good job. This is what I want to know. This is what I want to know, MH. I want to know this. Did Powell even have anything to do with the construction costs? I would be very surprised if the chair of the Federal Reserve actually had any real input, say, or decision-making on a remodel of a building. Now, maybe because the Federal Reserve is like this independent, neutral committee, and maybe because it's not overseen by the federal government, maybe he is in charge. I don't know. But I would love to know this same question, because I always thought to myself too, like, why are they blaming Powell for overages in a construction project? I guess if he's the project manager, that starts to make some sense. But if this is just a building he works in, obviously it's not his thing. It's the increase in the HVAC costs. Yeah. All those DC summers get real hot.
Not aware of that.
yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I
haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Now keep in mind, this is Jerome Powell. He is a finance guy. Okay. I would think that he would know the numbers behind a project that he's associated with. And so like really quick, like he reaches for the glasses. He's going to like full dad mode. He's like, oh, let's take a look here. Let's find out what's going on.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us.
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added. Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening.
Oh man, I love it, but I hate it. Right? It's one of those things where like I cringe for the awkwardness of this interaction, but also at the same time, I kind of like how Powell's just like, no, it's not what it is. No, you're counting it wrong. It's interesting. as head of the department, wouldn't he look over a budget? See, that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's what I don't know. I feel like Jerome Powell would be too important of a person to actually oversee a project like this, right? I feel like he's too important of a person to be the one that's like, oh yeah, let me make decisions about what's going on, like where this is going to go and how we're going to build this. I just feel like that's not in his purview. I mean, he's running the economy of the United States, ipso facto, the world at that point. So this is what I would like to know. And I could see in a world where, like you said, Angie, he's the head of the department. This department, the Fed, is kind of like neutral and like autonomous. Like they do their own thing. They don't answer to the president. So I just don't know if it is on his scope of work. It'd be interesting to know. It would be very interesting to know. Yeah, that's a good face for it, Milk. That's a good face. Not just department, it's not what he does. Yeah, that's kind of what I think. And it's funny because that is not something no one has blamed. No one has blamed, like Trump hasn't said this is Powell's fault. Powell is in charge of doing this. He said that about interest rates, right? Trump has said Powell's in charge of interest rates. He hasn't cut them. We want them lower. And then he kind of just threw this on as like, oh, see, Powell is just kind of a mess, right? But Trump hasn't come out and said, this was Powell's job. This is Powell's screw up. He went over budget. At least I haven't seen that expressly said. And I haven't seen Powell say, this is not my responsibility. Yes, the project's over budget, but that's not, you need to go talk to this committee or whatever that ran it. So it's just kind of interesting because Trump hasn't explicitly placed blame on Powell saying this is part of his job. And Powell hasn't said this isn't part of my job. They're just basically saying, one's saying, it's not that far over budget. And the other is saying, yeah, you're way far over budget. It's kind of interesting. Oh yeah, or get a team to go over it for me and report back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like asking a mortgage broker about the plumbing in a new build. That's a good point. Even MH, like if you asked an agent about the plumbing, the agent might know like, oh, I know that it's copper, but the agent's not gonna be able to tell you, oh, it's type 2 copper plumbing and it's 1 inch in diameter and we used PEX connections here and here. Like they're not gonna know like the plumbing schematic, right? So that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, exactly.
I think, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't. Expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
I think, it's funny. I think Jerome does just a really good job. Again, kudos for him to just not take the rage bait, even live and in person in front of cameras, like to say that he's, hundreds of millions of dollars over budget. And he just doesn't go. It just doesn't go.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So any questions?
Mr. President, does the issue give you?
And so that's about it for that. But I just was like, if you guys haven't seen that, and there's about another 2 minutes. I will link. I'll put this video in link in the. There you go. Now you got that link to that video if you guys want to watch it. So, all right. So we're 34 minutes in. Let's go to our main event. All right. So guys, God is going to save us from this housing crisis. Well, maybe not. So we got an article from realtor.com. Put this up on the screen. Share this tab instead. Here we go. Yes, in God's backyard, more than 800,000 homes could be built on land owned by churches. Here's how some are breaking ground on affordable housing. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but this is a kind of a new development. What's funny is I just noticed that. So they have a picture of a church. Let's see if there's a caption. No, it's just Getty Images. It's funny. They use an image of a church, right? And they're saying, the idea is churches have some unused land and you could build some houses on there and put some better use to it. Funny part, they included a picture of a church that has a cemetery. Probably not the best church to use for this picture because it kind of gives the insinuates like, oh, we'll just build houses right on this graveyard of this church cemetery. Oh, yikes. But developers are looking to underutilized lots, right? So developers are looking to areas of opportunity. And in built out communities, in urban and suburban communities, there's not a whole lot of vacant space left. And that's one of the challenges with the housing crisis, is that there's not a lot of space to build homes. Well, one of the things that some of these impacted areas started doing is they started going, okay, let's look for opportunity sites. So are there any large plots of land that are just underutilized, that, you know, big spaces of land that aren't used that often? And so right away, people identified churches. Churches used to be very, very big buildings with large rolling lawns, with big parking lots to accommodate these very, very large congregations. And what we're seeing now is that we're just seeing that the turnout at church is just not as big as it was. So you have these really, really, really large churches with these big rolling lawns and these big parking lots that used to accommodate, 150, 200 people on a Sunday morning. And now, maybe it's only accommodating 40, 50, or 60 people. And on top of that, it's only one morning a week. So for 5 or 6 days a week, you have these huge parking lots, these big areas that nothing is happening there. It's open space. And so what a lot of people are suggesting is to take some of this vacant open space, i.e., a half of the parking lot for the church, or a portion of the big front rolling lawn for the church, and making housing or affordable housing. This is something that is happening a lot in the Los Angeles area. We have these lots of churches on lots of land, and these churches are struggling to make it. These churches are struggling to have enough people in their congregation to, pay the basic bills. And so what's happening is it's a win-win, because these churches are able to either sell or lease a portion of their land to developers, make some money, keep the church doors open, and then also provide some housing for the community. And that's basically the rough outline of kind of what they're talking about when they're saying, yeah, churches can maybe be an answer to some of this. This is great. I mean, just skip the house, just stick us in the ground. Yeah, talk about the most affordable housing of them all, right? Just dig a hole. There we go. We have a ton of space in Colorado. It's the urban growth boundaries. Yep. Legislation. I think it depends on the state the church is in. Try that in the South. This is a good point. There will be some areas where this is viable. There will be some areas where this is just simply not viable. Some churches that still maintain large congregations aren't going to be for this. Like, I can think of one church in the downtown area of our town where their parking lot's always full on Sunday mornings. Like, for them, this church, this is not something that's going to work for them. But I know 2 churches in my town that have very large parking lots, very large lawns, and they're only full half a day a week. And developers have approached those churches and said, hey, you have underutilized space and we'll pay you to build here. Do you want to do it? And some churches are into it. Some churches aren't. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of legalese and pros and cons, and it's for them to figure out. But yeah, you're right. Definitely depends on where it is. MH, I could not agree more with you, because whenever I hear people go, oh yeah, we need affordable housing, we need affordable housing, we need affordable housing, I always tell people, okay, great. What is affordable housing and how do we get it? And those are usually 2 questions that are difficult to answer, or answered in very, very, very roundabout ways. Thought they were converting malls into condos. Yeah, there was talk of that too. Same with like the office building thing, but wouldn't you know, with all the building codes, the different codes that you need for commercial versus residential, all the regulations, there was a few studies done, and developers realized that it's as expensive and usually more expensive to convert commercial or industrial spaces to residential than it is to just build new residential, because it's so much work to convert and make them compliant that it doesn't pencil out. Now, you always wonder, like, well, does it not pencil out because you're trying to make $47 million of profit on a project, or does it actually, like, mathematically not make sense? That I don't know, but that's what I've heard. Yeah, but definitely a lot more space than churches, and especially stuff like the parking lots. I mean, Angie, you probably remember. I mean, I remember going to the mall with my family in the mid 90s, and like that was what you did. There was no Amazon, there was no online shopping. Like when you needed stuff, you went to the mall, and they had these huge parking lots, seas of cars. That's the type of thing that I could see potentially where it's like, okay, hey, let's take a corner of this parking lot, and we can definitely stick in, 47 units, 56 units, whatever, the number might be, certainly. In the middle of America's housing crisis, a surprising solution is taking root, not in city halls or planning departments, but in church fields, synagogue parking lots, and the overlooked parcels of land owned by houses of worship. With home prices far outpacing wages in many places across the country, communities are searching for new tools. One of the most promising, at least and least expected, is faith-based land. It's part of a growing national movement known as Yes in God's Backyard, or YIGBY, positioned as a counterpoint to Not in My Backyard, or NIMBY resistance. YIGBY takes a mission-driven, community-first approach, helping religious institutions transform their underused land into desperately needed housing. The scale of the opportunity is staggering. Religious groups collectively own more than 2.6 million acres across the U.S., much of it underutilized. The land could support as many as 800,000 new homes, according to a 2025 Forbes report. But there's a catch. Most houses of worship don't want to become real estate developers. That's where groups like Leap Homes come in. The Boise, Idaho-based nonprofit acts as a bridge between mission and execution, helping congregations convert their land into affordable homes without taking on the burdens of development or property management. The result isn't just housing, it's renewed purpose and stronger communities. A crisis of affordability in Idaho. Bart Cochran was born and raised in northern Idaho. After attending the University of Idaho, he moved to Boise to take his first job in real estate. Over the next 15 years, he worked across the industry from property management to residential sales, gaining a front row seat to the region's worsening affordability crisis. There had always been barriers to affordable housing in Idaho, he says, but around 2016, something shifted. This is pre-pandemic. We weren't used to seeing where people work, we weren't used to seeing where people working in the community who were still finding themselves unable to afford the cost of housing. Cochran recalls hardworking families, even with two jobs, were finding the cost of housing was starting to really stretch their budget. Cochran was witnessing the tearing open of an affordability gap that has continued to widen. As of June 2025, a typical home in Boise would require 45.3% of the median household income to afford, explains Jie Zhu, an economist at Realtor.com. That's well above the recommended 30% benchmark, assuming a 20% down payment and excluding taxes and insurance. MH forced them to take public transportation to church. There you go, right? There we go. Russell Hawkins, I like the Jesus screen grab. Thank you, Russell. I appreciate that. I do my own thumbnails. I'm always trying to keep them interesting and fun. I really appreciate you giving me some kudos on that. Thank you, Russell. And I appreciate you stopping into the stream and saying hello. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you stick around. Since 2019, the median listing price in Boise has climbed 67.4%. That's nearly double the growth seen in other fast-growing metros like Phoenix, where prices rose 36.8% over the same period. What makes Boise especially vulnerable, Shu adds, is that it remains grounded in lower wage sectors like service, education, and healthcare. In other words, unlike a tech-heavy market, Boise hasn't seen the kind of wage inflation that would justify the spike in home prices. A leap of faith for affordability. Cochran felt called to act. He launched Leap Housing, a faith-inspired nonprofit with a mission to develop and preserve affordable housing while providing empowering services that lead to greater housing stability. But from the start, he ran into two major obstacles, land and capital. Boy, don't we all run into those obstacles in our lifetime. How many times I've said to myself, if I only had more room and more money, right? Common problem. That's when Cochran started to notice a pattern in conversations with community members. People continue to bring up churches, he says. It seemed like there was always somebody pointing to a church with extra land. Instead of just letting them sort of be the villain, here's an organization that has a lot of extra land that they're not doing anything with, where we're like, we better check into this. He had a team member conduct a research project examining faith communities in the Treasure Valley. That's in Boise. The results were staggering. 168 churches with more than 180 acres of underutilized land in prime location. What's neat about churches, Cochran explains, is that they're often purchased decades ago, maybe up to 100 years ago. So today they're in really great locations. They're really ideal development sites. The proof of concept. Collister United Methodist Church. The first YIGB project came together in 2021 on a quiet patch of land owned by Collister United Methodist Church in Boise. Like many faith communities, Collister had more land than it needed, but little clarity on how to use it. This is where Leap stepped in. The Taft homes were completed summer 2022. The first family was moved in shortly thereafter. The church agreed to lease a portion of its underutilized land to Leap for just $1 per year, transforming what had long been an empty parking lot into an opportunity for impact. Leap built and now manages 2 family-sized rentals on the property. Rent is roughly 50% below market rate, making it genuinely affordable for working families in Boise. This is a great concept. I really love this. I love what is going on here. I loved how they've helped local families. These 2 homes, worthless, pointless. Not pointless to these 2 families. So in that sense, that's a good thing. But these 2 homes, I mean, this needs to be like 16 units to make a difference. But again, I understand it's conceptual, right? It's proof of concept. Can we even do this? How would this work? Would this make a difference in the community? And for these 2 families, I mean, think if you're one of these 2 families and your rent is 50% below market. How is that going to help you? It's going to help you significantly. And that's the type of thing that could not only help you in the short term, but when you're paying 50% under market for rent, now you can start actually saving some money. And when you can save money, you can start saving towards that down payment. Get that down payment up. You can get out of here, get into something else, start building equity, let someone else enjoy the 50% reduction in rent. The church agreed to lease a portion of its underutilized. We talked about Leap built and now, we talked about that. For Cochran, the project represents a return to the church's historic role in meeting community needs. If you look at churches throughout history, churches filled the gaps in the community, he says, whether it be healthcare or childcare. Churches are organized to provide what the community needed. But the highly technical nature of housing has created a gap in churches' ability to respond to current housing crisis, which is true. I mean, that's a good point. You know, how many churches do do like food pantries, or how many churches are like, hey, we run a shower program for homeless and needy people that can't shower, or, you know, how many churches are like, you know, doing food drives and things like that. So he's got a good point there. I like the smaller homes. MH, I'm with you. I like the smaller homes too. And this is a really, really good concept, and it's a really good idea. But if we're talking about fixing a crisis, 2 homes, you know, here and there is not going to do it. But I agree with you. I think in communities that maybe are less impacted with a housing crisis, this is a good option. If this church were in a more urban or suburban area, you know, an area of Colorado, an area of Los Angeles, we got to get more numbers up. Guy wearing all black coming to the door, crime may be a problem. Yeah. But look, he's in his socks, so he doesn't want to leave a shoe print or anything. But I think crime will be okay in the church parking lot. Probably not an issue. Nice idea. I wonder how many churches would do that. I think there's some opportunity out there, because there's a lot of churches that are facing, you know, economic issues. The offerings, the tithing, you know, they're not coming in like they were when congregations were much bigger. I know there's one church in my local town here in Claremont. I'll show you the aerial. They have a huge parking lot, super small congregation. They're going to lease their land, and they're going to build an affordable apartment complex. I think it's going to be 16 or 20 units or something like that. So I think there's going to be some churches that are interested in this concept. Housing is so capital intensive, it's so technical. How can we play a role in creating solutions in the community? Cochrane asks. What we're able to do is come alongside the church to be a bridge that allows them to play a tangible role in the community, serving the greatest need, but without having every single church denomination becoming an affordable housing developer. I think this guy's got a great idea. You know, whenever you see a company that's like, oh, you know, we'll facilitate and we'll kind of play matchmaker and we'll be a middle person. And especially when it's like, oh, just trust us and, you know, we're going to help you make money. It's like, oh, I don't know about that. But I think this is great. He's got a great point. Churches do not have the time, energy, resources, know-how, or economic resource to become land developers and real estate developers. So I think there's a real opening for companies like this. LEAP's model is simple in concept, but powerful in execution. While rooted in partnerships with faith communities, LEAP is not a religious organization. Instead, it acts as a technical developmental partner, guiding faith-based communities through the complex process of turning underused land into deeply affordable housing. At the heart of the model is a long-term ground lease, often up to 99 years, that allows LEAP to build and manage housing without churches giving up ownership. In most cases, churches donate or drastically discount the lease as a mission-aligned gift, reflecting their value of service and community care. What's next on scaling faith-based housing development? LEAP's YIGBY model has proven its viability, and now it's scaling. At least 6 new projects are currently active, with additional congregations entering exploratory phases. With ample land and interest partners, the biggest barrier to growth is now capital. So really interesting to see this approach. I'm also going to link this one into the chat in case you guys want to read this more. Angie, the Christian school I worked at a long time ago built a school on the lot and had affordable before and after school care. Yep, that's a common thing too. Childcare was a common thing that churches provided. Again, filling in those gaps in the community. So, you know, it'll be interesting. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the church that is in my town, so that you guys can see the size of this lot, and maybe it will just be a good demonstration of the possibility of doing this. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to share this tab instead, and we're going to put this up on the screen. All right. So here we are in beautiful Claremont. Get this off the screen here. All right. So this is Claremont. This is my old neighborhood. So you can see here that we've got a lot of apartments. So here's an apartment building. This is a whole apartment complex. This is an apartment complex. This is our small condos that are more like apartments. And this is high density housing. This is elder care. And I used to live, this is my old street, Taylor. That's my house right there. That's my old house. So this is St. Ambrose Episcopal Church. So I'm going to zoom in here. So you can see this is their church. This is their sanctuary building. And you can see they've got a big yard in the front, and they've got this big parking lot with some more kind of like a green space here. Now you think to yourself and go, oh, like, no, this isn't that big, right? Well, right next door, okay, these are all apartments. This is where I lived when I first went to Claremont. So we moved to Claremont. So we moved in, our apartment was right here. And then we bought our house right here. It's a very long move. So you can see that you have 2 buildings. You could see that you could fit in, and these apartments, there's about 30 apartments in these buildings here. Actually, this one's bigger. This one's about 50. This one is about 30 back here. You could see that you could fit this whole row back here. You know, you could pick up this whole rectangle and put it right back here, and you could easily have 16, 22, 24 apartments in this spot, and you could still have parking for the congregation. And you can see this is senior apartments. This is a lot of senior apartments as well. You could copy and paste this whole square right here. So this church is ripe for development. And this is what we mean when we say underutilized lots, right? So this is a perfect example of an underutilized lot. And this is what developers are doing. They're literally doing this. They're opening Google Maps, they're looking at satellite view, and they're going, okay, let's see. Where are spots where there's a lot of land? Ooh, there's a ton of land here. Is this underutilized? oh wait, this is the middle school. Okay, can't use that. Okay, that's not going to work. Oh, this is a park. That's not going to work. Okay. Oh, what's this? Oh, this is a religious building. We've got, maybe this will work. Okay, bingo. So we're going to hit up these people and be like, maybe we can put housing back here. And this is literally what they're doing. They're just going around. The other church that's getting some pressure is over here, Granite Creek Community Church. And see, here you can see, here's the church building. Now they have a big congregation, so they're probably not interested in this, but look at how big their lot is. It's this whole thing. It's this whole right here. It's this whole thing. So you can see like they have a grassy area. They have this like performance like venue area. They have a playground here. They have a big parking lot. And then they just have like this dirt surplus area. I mean, even just this one area alone, they could lease or sell. It wouldn't even impact any of their parking, any of their field, any of their venue, none of it. And they could make money and sell to a developer or lease to a developer or whatever. So this is kind of like what's happening, right? Like this is kind of what's happening. All right, Milky, what do you got? 35 plus year lease counts as a change in ownership as far as property taxes go. Would wonder how that would work considering $1 a year isn't exactly market rate. That's a great question. And I would expect that type of question from you. And Milk, I'm going to expect an answer from you from that because that's your arena. But that's smart. I don't know how it works with churches. I know churches don't have to pay like income taxes, but I believe they still got to pay their property taxes. And I don't know how it would work. I don't know if it would be like, oh, can the church like consider it like a donation, or I don't know how that works. We didn't have public school kindergarten in the town we lived in at the time. It was the church who sponsored it. Bingo. Perfect example. Perfect example. So that's the type of stuff that's going on, right? That's the type of thing that's that we're seeing developers do to just try to get a little bit more, just get more creative, really. So, all right, guys, we're coming up on 57 minutes. So that means that there's no time to cruise Zillow, but I want to show you one new listing that I want to show you. And the reason I'm going to show you this listing is because I had someone tell me, I got an email from someone that watched the stream. And I love when you guys email me. I do. You always are welcome to email me. I had a guy email me and he said, Joe, I watched your segment about like the right way to present a house. Because you were talking about how like, oh, hey, you really need, if a house is presented well. And I think this gentleman caught the stream where we did some Zillow cruising and I was talking about like, oh, these pictures aren't good, or I wouldn't do this. And he was like, I appreciate you like showing what we should do and what we shouldn't do. But like, how do you do your listings? Like, can I even believe what you're saying? Because you haven't showed us how you do your listings. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's right. I'm telling you guys what you should be looking for. And I'm not even showing you how I present them. So I am going to present to you. I'm going to show you how I present one of my very own listings. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. But we've got the chats going. Let's see what we got. Milk comes back. If it's not being used specifically for religious purposes and produces income, it will be taxed. The tax man's always going to get the money, right? Hey, Russell, what do we got? The people pay income tax on their salaries. I don't know that the actual facilities are taxed. Oh, okay. Okay, I see. If they are, it's not universal. Okay, I see what you're saying. Where do I find your closing music? Oh, that's on StreamYard. You like my closing music? It's not going right now, is it? It shouldn't be queued up yet. It's not. I'm not rolling it up yet. We're not closing yet, but we're getting close, MH. Because it's God's house. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But I'm talking specifically about California. Yeah, I understand, Milk. Your stuff is with California. See, Joe almost makes me like Californians. Aw, MH. I promise we're not all crazy. No, we're not all crazy. A lot of us are, but not all of us. Thank you for those kind words. All right, guys. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you how I present a listing. This is my very own listing. I'm going to show it to you straight from Redfin, so you know I'm not BSing anyone. All right. I'm going to share this tab instead. And we're throwing this up, guys. Here is my latest listing. This is at 2409 2409 Crescent View Drive in West Covina. And guys, I'm telling you, I'm not just putting you guys on. when I tell you guys how I want listings to be presented, this is how I present them, right? So I'm definitely not a like say one thing, do another person. So again, we got the professional photography. We always do twilight. This one was really, really important. I really wanted to capture this photo. It's twilight because you get the nice glow of the lights, beautiful sunset, and you can also see the mountains and the twinkling lights in the background. And this is a view home, and you want to try to capture that. So what this photo does is this is really like a, you know, like the big, you know, right hand, boom, jab, straight to the face, right? So when you're scrolling Zillow, I want that punch to hit you straight in the face, and I want you to be captivated by this photo. And that's what we want. That's what we want. Oh, no, we're not guessing this one because I showed you the price, so you can't guess this one. Sorry, MH. Again, another photo, twilight, sunset, boom, jumps off the page, really captures you. Again, another twilight photo. We have the pool, private backyard, really captures you. So I'm putting the most captivating photos first, and then we're going in to the rest of the home in an order that makes sense, right? So you can see high quality photos. The property has not been staged with extra furniture, but we did go through and we moved some stuff around. We had the property cleaned. We had a bunch of minor fixes made. And this is how we present properties, right? This is the correct way. So everything, we have good photos, we have aerial, we have a good healthy amount of photos, 55 photos in all. And the photographer actually returned 72 photos to me, but it was too much. It was overkill. And so I wanted to pare it down a little bit. So you can see we've got a mix of daytime and twilight shots showing everything, showing the inside of the home, the outside of the home, and just different areas of the home. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous property in West Covina, close to South Hills Country Club, if you're familiar with the location. It's a mid-century home built in 1968. It's on 1/3 of an acre. It's a really, really beautiful home. And this is one of these homes, guys, where the owners have had huge pride of ownership. It's got copper plumbing repipe, new roof in 2018, new HVAC in 2019, including the ductwork, new copper main line, new double pane windows. I mean, this home is really, really dialed in. So again, guys, I'm not just telling you what you should look for. I'm also doing what you should look for. Of course, in Joe fashion, we got to be the 20%. 80% suck. 20% know what they're doing. We got to be the 20%. So of course, we got on the 3D Matterport tour. This is really, really helpful. Now on stream, it looks a little choppy. If you do this, you know, in real time, it's going to show up beautifully. But this is great. And this is standard on all of our listings. And this is how we do it. Again, I'm streaming this, so it's a little choppy. If you were looking this on your computer, this would look smooth and buttery and high def. And this allows us to go all over the home. If you guys have never done a Matterport, it's super, super cool. So we do that, of course. And then we have the detailed property description. Again, we make sure we hit the infrastructure. We want buyers to know that there is good value here. This property is a little over 2,300 square feet. It's on the market for $1.3 million. If you are in the neighborhood, we're going to be having an open house on Sunday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. This is your opportunity. Come meet Joe in real life, right? So if any of you guys are looking for a home in the Southern California area, West Covina area, this is a great one, and it will be available. So I wanted to do this for two reasons. Number one, I wanted to show you guys that I don't just talk about it, I am about it. And also number two, I want to brag about my great new listing. Look at, isn't this a great listing? Look how beautiful that home is. Isn't it a good one? I think it's a good one. So of course we had to bring that up. MH, oh, don't worry, MH. I can pull some strings. I've got some connections. I can get you back into California. Don't worry. You just drop me a DM or shoot me an email. We'll get you in. I think I know people in high places. And then lastly, we're going to do one more, guys. We're going to do one more. You guys know the routine. Work with JoeRealtor.com. It's going into the chat. If you guys are looking for a real estate agent, in fact, I've got some clients in the chat right now. If you guys are looking for a real estate agent and you guys need a competent agent, remember 80% of real estate agents don't know their left hand from their right hand. They don't know the morning from the evening. 20% of the agents are doing all the work. 20% of the agents say that, or 20% of the agents are conducting the business, you want to find one of those 20% agents. So let me help you. If you're thinking about buying or selling anywhere in the United States, I've got agents all over the nation. I just hooked up some agents, an agent for a client in Washington. Some clients of mine said, Joe, I need a really good agent. I need someone like you in Washington, Vancouver. Can you find them? I said, yep, here you go. So if you are looking for an agent anywhere in the United States, let me know. I'm happy to refer you. And if you're thinking about buying or selling a house in the Southern California, Orange County, Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County area, I'm your guy. I'm your guy. You can go to workwithjoerealtor.com, click on any of these boxes or buttons, and it will take you to a little worksheet, answer some questions, and there you have it. Well, MH, whenever you're looking in Washington, you let me know. I actually have a good network of realtors up there. We share a lot of clients between the LA and Seattle area. So I've got a lot of good agents in Washington, not only just in Seattle. I have a great agent in Central Washington, and I have a really good agent in Southern Washington in Vancouver. So if you need anybody, let me know, MH. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out on a late stream. It's 8:37 my time. It's like a late night stream. All right. What camp? Okay. I'm not familiar with that area, but I'll look into it. I'll see who I have close. And if you're looking for something, we'll see if we can find you a good agent. We'll see what we can do. Thank you, guys. MH, you know what time it is? You know what time it is, MH? Do you know what time it is? It's time for the outro. All right, guys. Thanks for giving me some of your very, very valuable time. Thanks so much for hanging out with me late tonight, 8:38. This is the latest we've ever streamed. Awesome audience participation. I really appreciate it. I love you guys when you chat. It's a lot of fun for me. It's the best part about live streaming is interacting with all you guys in the chat. I love hearing your questions, hearing your thoughts. It's a lot of fun. So appreciate you guys for chatting with me tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday, as always, with another stream. It will be back at 6:30. Don't worry. I'm not assuming that we're going to have any more technical glitches. Thanks so much for bearing with me through that this evening. I don't know what we're going to do next time on the stream. I think I was going to do a giveaway today, but we went really long. So no giveaway today. We're going to do a giveaway next stream. We're going to do a giveaway. We're going to do a giveaway. We'll cruise Zillow a little bit. And then of course, we'll see what other real estate stories break. Are Trump and Powell actually going to fist fight? That'd be cool. I think we should put Trump and Powell. They're probably about the same age. We should just put them into a ring. Put some gloves on them, put some headgear on them. We don't want them to get hurt, but just let them fight. Whoever wins, interest rates go down, interest rates don't. I think it's a great way to do it. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for giving me some of your very, very valuable time. As always, try to do something nice for someone out there, right? It's a crazy, hectic world. Be kind to people. Be nice to people when you're out and about in the world. Okay, that's it for now. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good rest of your week. See you guys. Bye.